Imaginative Hobbyist presents Daredevil Blind Justice, written by Max Slocum, adapted from a treatment by Frank Miller. Before we begin, Blind Justice was the working title for the iconic Daredevil story, The Man Without Fear, considered by many to be the definitive origin story for the Marvel Comics superhero. While Frank Miller's story treatment has similarities with the published 5-issue saga, there are compelling differences that make a person wonder, what if? The following is based on a revised second draft, dated June 2nd, 1988. Part 1. Itkowitz does not want to be out on patrol today. It is so overwhelmingly hot outside that he fantasizes quitting the force to be inside right by the air conditioner and enjoying a tub of ice cream. He confronts some kids playing with an open fire hydrant and recognizes some of the usual neighborhood brats like Julio and Rachel. As he lectures them on their wrongdoing, another one as young as them sneaks up behind and takes his billy club and blazes down the street on his skateboard. Itkowitz chases him down. He is unable to make out who it is because they are wearing a black ski mask over their head. He catches up to the little punk. But does he succeed and take the boy down to the station where a juvenile court date will be set? No. In fact, the little daredevil leaps his way onto a fire escape and makes his way to the rooftop like a monkey and leaves the overweight and underpaid patrolman upset and in need of a cigarette. The masked child is 8-year-old Matt Murdock, the son of heavyweight boxer Jack the Devil Murdock. At Fogwell's gym, where his father trains, the dirty-faced little terror sets his wild green eyes on a rusty, open locker where he hides the patrolman's club. In the locker room, Matt looks at the faded and scratched-up posters on the walls of his father as a younger man who is built like a bear with movie star looks. Dad doesn't like to look at these as much as his son because they depress him. Jack Murdock never made it to the big leagues. Years ago, he was considered a possible contender for a national title. He could have been a champ, but today he is a chump. He ends every night with a bottle of bourbon. He drinks it by himself in the living room of his apartment. It takes his son to get him to rise out of his chair and guide him into bed. And on every journey there, he whispers out his love for the one lady that got away, Maggie, Matthew's mother. Opportunity soon presents itself to Jack when the mafia knocks on his door and offers him the chance to get back into the ring again, on the condition that he acts as their enforcer. If not for his son, he would have said no, but because of his son, he will take their offer so that he can afford him the best education possible, so that he doesn't end up a lowlife. No matter how much he tries to hide his identity, everyone recognizes the voice of Jack the Devil Murdock. It makes Jack sick to do what he has to do, and he is reminded why his wife left him, but he doesn't quit. His son's future matters more to him than his dignity and even his own life. The worst he has to do is rough some people up and smash some windows. The nastier jobs are assigned to a hulk named Slade. They both work for Roscoe Sweeney, who goes by the Fixer. He is a man so cruel, Jack wonders if he even has a heart. Jack would like nothing more than to go to the police and tell all there is about Sweeney and his operations, but the risk, he recognizes, is just too great. Matt comes home after school one afternoon, triumphant from an encounter with some of the bullies in the neighborhood who terrorize him regularly, but rather than praise, he receives criticism from his old man. Jack screams at his son and slaps him in the face. It is so hard, Matt's nose begins to bleed. Jack tries to apologize, but a terrified Matt runs far away. He journeys so far that he only stops when he reaches the top of the Brooklyn Bridge, where he watches the sun go down, the moon rise up, and the sun return to light up the morning sky. In that time, he realizes that people need rules to live by. He remembers his father talking about how the world needs more lawyers, good ones that swear by the justice system and cannot be bought or bullied. He returns home and finds it empty. His father returns from a long night of searching, and father and son hug. Matt says to him that he will be a lawyer when he grows up. Matt studies day and night, obeying every rule like a good boy. Every day his patience is tested with the other children as they mock him for pursuing the life of a bookworm instead of a thrill seeker. One day at recess, Matt tries to stick up for Rachel, the girl of his dreams, but Julio humiliates him in front of their whole school with a slap, and when he doesn't fight back, he beats him down harder. Every punch and kick is a call for a reaction, but Matt doesn't do anything. He just takes it. After spitting into his face, Julio and the other bullies come up with a damning, sarcastic nickname, Daredevil. They begin to chant it, and then more join in, including the puny nerds. Rachel walks away from the scene, humiliated by Matt's cowardice. It is at that moment that Matt realizes that he will never get another chance to be her knight in shining armor. She will forever see him as nothing more than a fool. Tears roll down his eyes. The laughter from the children is like a collection of demons in the depths of hell. His life is a living nightmare. Matt's rage explodes, but he only allows it in secret. He takes his anger and frustrations to Fogwell's, where he hits the punch bag so hard it echoes through the old gym like a machine gun firing. The gym becomes his escape. He sweats his frustrations out every time that he comes in. For 8 years he trained himself to be a fighter, but soon he will start to learn to train to be a warrior. 16-year-old Matt Murdock pushes an old wino out of the path of an out-of-control truck. Barrels of radioactive muck fall off. One gets punctured, and its contents splash onto the teenager's face, blinding him for life. But he is not merely blind. The waste alters his DNA, and his senses become amplified. He has been transformed into something else. In the hospital, the sounds and the smells are torture to the teenage Murdock's ears and nose. It takes time, but he learns to control his amplified senses. Eventually, his heartbeat, which sounded like a bass drum, returns to how he hears it normally. The doctors are friendly, but they carry a secret. He overhears their whispers and finds out that they work for the very company that produced the material that blinded him, and they say that his nerve centers have been mutated. That explains it all. He has to turn this curse into a gift, come hell or high water, and he will have to keep it a secret, because he refuses to let anyone take advantage of him. Everyone pities him, and they always assume the worst, that he needs help to do everything when he is capable of still doing many things, despite his blindness. He wants to call these people out on their ignorance, but he keeps it to himself. Only one person, he learns soon, understands him. Their name is Stick. The old man introduces himself at Fogwell's gym one evening as Matt tries and fails to train. Stick has been blind since the day he came into the world. He has never seen the sun rise or set, a frame of Casablanca, or has experienced what it is like to be in an art gallery and be wowed by the paintings and sculptures. He has also suffered every cruelty imaginable in the city that only the helpless and needy experience on a daily basis. But he still stands tall as a survivor. Like the Murdock boy, he too has learned to use his remaining senses in extraordinary ways. He will show him how to use them better as his teacher. He wants to help because he knows the kind of man Jack Murdock is, and despite his many flaws, he is a person that means well and wants his son to succeed in life. And in the years since he started making the gym a second home, he has noticed a fighting spirit in the boy, and with the gifts he has received, he shouldn't let them go to waste. Stick orders the boy to get up on his feet, and the training starts. He teaches Matt to recognize people and objects by their own sense. He teaches him to sense movement by simply feeling the touch of distilled air, and he teaches him how to fight, learning to track his opponent's heartbeat by observing the sound of the blood rush through their veins, signaling movement. The training is hard, but it pays off well. Matt can now even perform expert archery, hitting targets right at the spot. In this time, not only has Matt been training his body, but his mind as well. His grades are all great, which makes his father extremely proud. Jack hopes it could mean Matt will go to not just any college, but a very good one someday, and that he will graduate ready to make a name for himself in the world. He wants to be there to see it. Part 2. During a fight in the ring with a younger, faster, and meaner opponent, Jack is told by the fixer to lose on purpose, or else. He sees his son in the audience yelling encouragement to his old man, and he decides to hell with it and clobbers his opponent and is crowned the winner. Jack expects to be confronted by Sweeney and his goons outside of the arena, and he is. They beat him badly. He knew they would, but he didn't expect Sweeney to pull out a gun, point it at his head, and fire. In the morgue, Matt touches the cold, lifeless face of his father. Without hesitation, he decides it is time to break some rules. One by one, Matt tracks down his father's killers. In a dark alley, police officers find two of the fixer's men badly bruised and barely conscious. One actually confesses that they played a role in the killing of Jack Murdoch, and he thinks the battling devil has come back to life. At Fogwell's, Sweeney arrives to see Slade and Marcello and discovers them both on the floor, covered in their own blood. In the boxing ring, standing above Slade's broken body, is a masked figure carrying a blood-soaked baseball bat in hand. Sweeney runs like hell and returns to his limousine. The speeding car drives like crazy through the streets of New York. Out of nowhere, the masked man lands onto the hood from out of the air with his bat still in his grip. Sweeney fires his gun from a side window, sending the driver into a panic, and they crash into a subway entrance. Sweeney gets out and runs as far as his legs can take him. When he reaches a dead end, he is confronted by the masked figure, ready to strike. Right when he raises the bat into the air, an express train roars past them. The rush of wind and the loud sounds make the masked man lose control and stumble like a drunk. Sweeney pulls out his gun and aims at the figure, but his heart starts to go wild. He remembers he hasn't taken his medication today and is paying the consequences for it. His heart stops, and he falls to the ground, dead as a doornail. Matt realizes that the fixer is no more, and there is only one killer left. He tracks down the driver at a whorehouse across the city and makes his move. The ladies think a raid is going on and go to protect the driver. Their yells, punches, and kicks are sensory overload for Matt, and he accidentally kicks a woman into a window. She falls to her death, and he takes off, barely escaping the arriving policeman. He returns to the gym, horrified by what he has done. He has taken an innocent life. There will be no coming back from it. He is a killer, whether he likes it or not, and he does not like it at all. In tears, he calls for the aid of Stick, but there is no answer. Matt is not surprised Stick does not show. He has failed his sensei. This event will haunt him for the rest of his days. He used his great power with no responsibility, and it has resulted in the loss of innocent human life. Part 3. In the years that follow, Matt does his best to forget the old gym and focuses more on his studies. He sails through pre-law at Columbia, where he befriends Franklin "Foggy" Nelson, a fun but determined young man. Foggy is far from the most popular guy on campus. Often he is tormented by sadistic frat boy Brad. Matt recognizes him as being cut from the same cloth as the bullies of his youth like Julio, and one night goes to have a little chat with Brad. It is a night Brad will never forget. How could anyone forget being taken from their bed, being tied up, and left face down in the tennis court during a winter storm? But it is the threat that he hears from his abductor that sends shivers down his spine, and from that day forward he leaves the Nelson boy alone. Matt and Foggy's education is disturbed no more. At age 24, Matt is an outstanding graduate student on a full scholarship to Harvard Law School. When he earns his degree, he gets a job in Boston at a respectable firm. He has no plans to return to New York, but his employers have a task that requires him to go there that he cannot refuse. The city has changed a lot since Matt has been away. A monster has risen into power in its criminal underworld. Wilson Fisk, who goes by the Kingpin, has his hands in everything from money laundering, gun running, drug smuggling, human trafficking, terrorism. He even has the majority of the police and some key politicians in the city on his payroll. Fisk is so intelligent and crafty, he has managed to keep all of his crimes go unnoticed by the likes of the Fantastic Four and the Avengers. Fisk came from nothing and turned himself into something. For years he was the bodyguard to an aging gang leader, mafioso, till one day he saw an opportunity to bring the king down and take his crown and throne. Right by his side, helping him out and seeing his army grow, is his assassin Larks, a killer of the coldest sort. He does exactly what he is told with no questions. He knows his place and plans to stay there. When Matt Murdock sets foot back on the streets of New York, he is drawn to the nightmares of his past. They cling onto his neck so tight he is unable to sleep, so he decides to go on a midnight stroll. Everything comes back to him, all of the heartbreak, the trauma, and the pain. The streets are saying they haven't forgotten about him. He hears a group of some punks coming his way. His mind is telling him to keep going and try to get out of their sights, but his body won't allow him to take a step forward, only to turn around and face them. They are like a pack of wolves circling their prey, taunting him, thinking it will be so easy to attack and take all of his possessions. But as their leader walks closer with their switchblade, ready to carve, the blind man kicks him, and the wolves attack. They learn quickly that their prey is not a lamb, but a lion, and they all fall to the ground, bruised. Only one has the strength to get up and make a run for it. Matt chases him to a dead end. The youth begs for mercy. Matt is about to knock his lights out till he realizes his knuckles are bleeding. He is not defending himself anymore. He is being a bully, just like them. No, he is better than this, he thinks to himself, and he staggers down the street. A calmed-down Murdock finds the old gym he considered to be a second home and realizes it is abandoned. He pulls a plank free and slips inside. He hears the sounds of his father beating the punching bag. Those are strong. He hears a younger version of himself running inside, crying, and rushing to the very bag and unleashing all of his rage. The thought makes it sound louder in his eardrums. He hears a noise from across the room, too big to be a mouse or a cat, definitely a human being, and their breathing says they are a young one and a girl. She fires a ball with her slingshot at him, but he catches it before it hits. She cannot believe it. He introduces himself to her, realizing that he means no trouble. She introduces herself as well. Her name is Mickey, but as Matt senses from the rhythm of her heartbeat and tone of her voice, that is a lie. She also says that she is an orphan. That too is a lie. Matt does not say anything, for the reason why she is here is the same reason he had to come to the gym in his youth, to escape the harshness of the world. They meet every night after this one to work out. Not a day goes by where Mickey is not impressed by what Matt, a blind man, can do in the gym. One night she comes across an old crumpled poster promoting a fight between his father Jack, the Devil, Murdock, and Devon, the Destroyer, Donovan. When she describes it to Matt, he reacts with irritation. Local kids loved that, kidded me about it a lot. He pulls out his boxing gloves and says that he always wanted to throw the nickname they gave him back to their faces. "What nickname?" she asks. "Daredevil," he answers as he starts to hit the punching bag. Part 4. New York's film department becomes extremely budget-conscious by order of the Kingpin, who sends Larks to pressure its head. One of the dispatchers overhears and becomes a nervous wreck. He hires 2 junkies, Roberto and Alice, to do a job that should settle down the fire. Roberto and Alice will do anything, for they are in need of money. Matt reunites with Foggy in the afternoon at a diner, and he accepts his offer to help with a case that he is working on. The hours fly by and day turns to night. Matt gets a call from his boss who tells him he needs to go back to Boston tonight. His return cannot wait till tomorrow. He says goodbye to his old friend and goes to say goodbye to his new friend. Mickey waits at the gym for Matt. Two junkies walk up to her and she tries to get away. The man grabs her and the woman pulls out a chloroform-soaked cloth and places it onto her face, making her pass out. They take her back to the hotel they are staying at. Matt comes to the gym. He looks high and low for Mickey, but finds no trace of her anywhere. He eventually comes across her change purse and discovers a student ID inside. He pries its plastic lamination off and reads her real name and address by touch. He heads to her house where he overhears her parents on the phone with the kidnappers. They want money, lots of it. Matt returns to the gym and breaks open his old locker where he finds the billy club he stole from the patrolman as a boy. Boston will have to wait. He has a life to save. There is friction between Mickey's kidnappers. Desperate for a hit and terrified by what the kingpin may do to them, Alice sells Roberto out. Fisk sends Larks over after he is done with the dispatcher from the film department to their hotel, where he waits patiently for Roberto to return. Alice takes Mickey away to the warehouse at the waterfront. Matt follows Mickey's father as he goes from phone booth to phone booth, getting instructions from Roberto till he delivers the money at the drop spot. A few minutes later, he shows up and takes the money. Matt tracks him down to the hotel, where instead of Alice and the girl, Roberto finds Larks as he opens the door, who fires a bullet into his skull. Larks discovers Matt and opens fire. Matt manages to dodge every bullet, impressing Larks. When he thinks he has scared the stranger away, Larks returns to his limousine and gives Fisk a call about what had just gone down. To make sure their operation goes smoothly, Fisk has his other assassin, Slaughter, go down to the warehouse and turn it into a death trap for the would-be hero. Matt comes to the warehouse dressed like the night. He hears a lovely singing voice and realizes it is Mickey. Soon, other children sing along with her. They call for help. They call for a hero. He will save all of them. He is as silent as a ghost as he glides along the power line to the roof of the warehouse. There are quite a few men locked, loaded, and ready to attack as soon as they see someone wanting to be a hero. He moves from one to the next, knocking them out with his fists and club. He goes to the side of the building and pulls the sparks from every car and truck in the parking lot, so not one of them can escape. Then he goes to the dock and tackles two more men into the water. He wrestles with one while the other sinks to the bottom. Using his senses like a radar, he dodges every attempt the goon tries to stab his blade into his chest. Instead, what happens is that Matt gets the upper hand and sends the blade into their ribcage. Matt swims to the bottom and discovers the one who sank was holding onto a heavy belt of grenades. He takes them and swims back to the surface. He places the belt around a piling under the dock and pulls the pins. He climbs to the dock and runs like the wind. The explosion rocks the entire area, sending every one of Fisk's men into a panic. A wall to the warehouse bursts wide open, and out comes Slaughter in an urban assault vehicle, firing a machine gun. Matt leaps away from the fire and finds himself in the path of arriving police cruisers who have arrived onto the scene. Slaughter tries to escape, but fails. It takes a dozen cops to take Matt down. They cuff him and shove him into a cruiser. He tries to tell them about the girl, but they do not listen. He hears Mickey scream and kicks the officer riding in shotgun. That gets the driver to lose his grip on the steering wheel, and the car crashes against an elevated highway support column. Larks has taken Mickey with him to his limousine. When he discovers that the sparks have been pulled, he asks for a taxi. Once the cabbie arrives, Larks shoots him and steals the car. Mickey screams for Matt as she is shoved into the taxi and it takes off. As soon as Matt regains consciousness, he breaks his cuffs with his feet, pulls the officers out of the cruiser, and starts the car back up and drives into the direction of Larks and Mickey. He does the best that he can do given that he is blind. He just needs to get close enough. When he does, he gets out of the cruiser and continues his pursuit on foot. The chase ends at a small saloon. Matt enters with his club in hand and finds Larks holding his pistol to Mickey's head. He shoots at Matt in the calf, but he doesn't retreat. Instead, he stands his ground and continues walking forward at them. Larks fires again, this time to the head, but Matt swings his club and hits the bullet back to its owner, striking the floor by his foot. "Who are you?" he asks. "Daredevil," Matt says. Larks goes to fire again. Matt pleads that he doesn't, but the gun goes off. The bullet breaks the wood of the club, revealing a steel shank underneath. The metal sends the bullet backwards and strikes Larks in the skull. Mickey runs to Matt, crying her eyes out. Matt tells her that everything will be all right. He will take her back home to be with her parents. They are gone before the police arrive. Part 5. It is the biggest discovery of its kind in the history of New York City. The Daily Bugle, the Daily Globe, and the New York Bulletin are all over it. Evidence points to the direction of a figure known as the Kingpin. To avoid capture, Fisk leaves the country, but has determination to find the man in the mask who ruined him and get his revenge. Matt loses his job in Boston. In a way, he is relieved, because he feels a need to be in New York again. It is his rightful home, and he is doing good there. He meets with Foggy later in the day for coffee, where Foggy comes up with an exciting idea, a firm of their own where they will be partners. They do not know whether to call it Nelson and Murdoch or Murdoch and Nelson, and leave it up to the flip of a coin. Foggy flips it a bit too far into the air, and it sails across the counter. An old man wearing faded colors and with shaggy gray hair grabs it and walks on over. He drops the coin on the counter, and it then decides that Matt and Foggy's firm will be called Nelson and Murdoch. Matt recognizes the old man as his sensei, Stick. He tells him to not get cocky, and Matt smiles. A police siren wails in the streets of Hell's Kitchen, alerting everyone who is out trying to find the moon in the night sky as a seemingly endless cloud system passes itself through. On the rooftops, Matt leaps from one to another wearing a suit Mickey made for him. She said she based it on what his father wore in the old poster at the gym. She describes it as bright red, with 2 Ds on its chest, a mask with pointed ears, and a belt to keep his club. God only knows what it looks like, but Matt doesn't need to see it to know that it is perfect. New York City has a new hero, and his name is Daredevil.